Hey folks, it's Pastor Rick, your Utah wine pastor, and it's Christmas Eve day. And I've got a little present for you today. I've got a wine update that I wanted to share. It came with a memorable meal that Bonnie and I enjoyed recently right here at home. And for me at least, what made this meal memorable had a lot less to do with the main course and a lot more to do with the wine. So let me get the description of the main course out of the way so that we can concentrate on the wine. It felt like a red meat, red wine kind of night. So I just rummaged through the fridge and came up with some leftover red onion, some red bell pepper, and mushrooms. And it just seemed to scream kebabs out to me. It was sort of a no brainer. So I rustled up a little sirloin steak, grabbed some skewers, and fired up the grill. And one little trick that I found to be very helpful was to put all the veg on their own skewers and all the meat on their own skewers to make the cooking time a little more predictable. So for this set of kebabs, I cut the sirloin steak into good sized chunks and tossed them in some Montreal steak seasoning. I really like that on red meat. I gave them a good coating and let them marinate until they all came up to room temperature. Then, like I said, put them on their own skewers, and by this time, the grill outside was up to temp, and I put the veggie skewers on first to give them about a 5-minute head start. The meat came next, and I gave them about 12 to 13 minutes, I guess, turning them over about halfway through to get that nice char on them. Now, as it turned out, they came out a little rarer than I expected, so I finished them on the stovetop in a saute pan. Well, nobody's perfect. But the little glitch in cooking the kebabs, I tell you, didn't detract at all from the wine. And I guess part of what made this meal memorable for me was that it kind of helped me to remember just how good Spanish wine can be and really how much I enjoyed it. Sometimes because I'm such a big fan of French and California wines, I tend to gravitate towards them and maybe to the exclusion of other great winemaking areas. For this meal, I served a 2016 Larchago Rioja Reserva from Bodegas Familia Chavarri. That wine got me out of the rut of French and California wines. So, when you think of Spain and red wine, you almost automatically think of Rioja, and with good reason. Rioja, that wine made with Tempranillo grapes, is really what puts Spanish winemaking on the map. The Bodegas Familia Chavarri, located in northern Spain, has been making wine in this region, if you can believe it, since 1882. So they know what they're doing. Recognized as the star red varietal in Spain's most celebrated wine region, Rioja, Tempranillo can produce these really elegant wines with lots of complexity, notes of black and red fruit, sometimes leather, sometimes a hint of crushed rock, toast, and sometimes you get a little whiff of tobacco. Good Rioja is capable of improving in the cellar for decades. And I'd say this wine is no exception. Even at 9 years old, it still tasted fresh, but it had that kind of old world structure promising great aging potential. Bodegas Familia Chavarri has been making wine since, I say 1882, and they know what they're all about. I only paid $23 for this bottle, and I'd tell you that it's worth every penny. Truth is, it tastes more like a $40 or $50 bottle of wine. According to the winemaker, this wine was aged for 18 months in French oak, followed by another 18 months in the bottle. The Spanish are really good about this. They don't rush things to the market, especially the makers of good Rioja. And what I really liked about this wine is that it didn't seem completely old world or new world in style, but kind of a velvety combination of both. It had plenty of good fruit, but also plenty of structure. It wasn't like a simplistic California fruit bomb. It had enough tannin and structure to qualify as serious wine, but somehow at the very same time, it was very approachable, seemed to be very nice hybrid between old world and new world. I would tell you that on the palate, this wine was very savory. It had that touch of mint or eucalyptus that I just love in some great California cabs. But here, this was Tempranillo, and that little hint of mint or eucalyptus was in no way overpowering. This wine was obviously elegant. And I think it showed off the winemaking expertise of this bodega. It had hints of dark fruit and chocolate, just a whiff of that tobacco-y, sweet cigar box aroma on the nose. I'd say it's definitely worth a try, and at just $23 a bottle, if you can find it, I found it at the big wine store on, uh, 3rd West, and if you can find it, I'd say definitely buy, a lot. Buy more than you think you'll need because once you taste it, I think you'll love it. So with that, I'll just say cheers and amen, close, and wish you a very Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.